welcome back to Bookkeepers Bootcamp. We are running an impromptu session with Philippa Haynes from Insight 101. Philippa's been on our podcast before. Hi, Philippa. How are you doing?
Hi. Good, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, really good to be here. I've been watching everything despite not being a bookkeeper myself, but I do work for you guys and accountants, so I've been listening in.
You know our challenges. You know why this is hard for us. Like, you are there on our side.
Yeah, well, it's not something, I mean, you know, bookkeepers are all, it's all about, oh, you need to show up, you need to build awareness, all of this kind of thing. But actually, how do you do that? You know, you're not marketeers.
No.
So, you know, you can be really excited about the prospect, and some people just get it naturally, but other people need a bit of a hand. I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, so I need somebody to help me with my finances. And it's the same thing, you know, whether it's about a personal brand or a business brand. So I hope I can just add to the conversation and make people feel really comfortable.
Oh, I really appreciate that. So for everyone, hi everyone who's joining, letting us know you're live. Let us know if you're live or watching this on the replay. We just wanted to add this into the schedule because Philippa was speaking to Jo this morning, and you said you've been watching the sessions, and we're like, well, you know, if you having a brand, like somebody who is involved in brand strategy in this conversation would be really helpful. So there have been some questions that have come up over the last couple of days as well, and I thought it would be really good to talk to you about them. One of them, actually. Oh, actually, Philippa, let's rewind. Do you want to start by telling us about what you do?
Yeah, so your introduction was pretty perfect, actually. So I'm a brand strategist. That actually means I help bookkeepers and accountants, actually. So I'm very specialist in that. I help you to create your brand. And that is not just your logo and your design, but to help you with your story, which actually fuels everything else that you do. So I think most people know Penelope Allard, the Wild Bookkeeper. I worked on her brand and helped her with her awareness. And she went from zero to hero, as we all know. She's won 2 Luca Awards this year, and I'm so proud of her. And she really got it, and we worked very hard to sort of pull out what she's all about and how she can kind of make the most of that. So that's what I do every day. And I know that there were some questions in the comments and the groups, so I'll try and answer those as well as I can.
Thank you. And anyone who's got any questions, please put them in the chat. Like, what an opportunity. So I think one of the things that's come up for us over the last couple of days is this difference between having a personal brand and a business brand. I think most people who come into our world who are starting a practice will say, I need a logo, and that will be what people, I even said this to my husband, does creative stuff, and I was like, I need you to make me a logo, and that was all I thought it was. And actually there's so much more than that. So the logo is part of the business brand, but I don't think we really think we need to think about a personal brand. So can you just talk to me a bit about what the differences are between a business and a personal brand and how they interact?
Yeah, so I mean, really, let's just go into the bit about you wanting a logo. I don't think there's anything wrong with you saying immediately, "Oh, I need a logo," because that's something that can mark us out. The difference between a logo that is pretty, looks nice, and a logo which really means something you can use really fundamentally is based on, you know, is it a part of who you are, your belief system, your values, all of that good stuff. So if you've done the work up front, like Penny did, we got to a logo that meant something, so that when she speaks to people and they go, "Oh, we just love you, you know, we love your logo. How did that come about?" She can tell the story and say, "This is what fuels me. This is what drives me." So that's that little bit about that logo. But personal brand is obviously about you. You are the business owner. I think it's really important for obviously solo business owners for you to get seen, to get known. I think there's a difference between, you know, just talking about, you know, what you've done for the weekend, etc., etc. People want obviously that personal bit, don't they? That sort of, what do you do behind the scenes? But I think where it's really, really critical is if you understand who you are fundamentally and what you believe in, you can start to put that across. So Penny does that really well. I'll use her as an example because it's just
Penny's
easy.
here as well. Penny's
Hi,
here.
Penny.
She's like,
Hi.
the logo is the final piece of the jigsaw. She's
Yeah.
like sharing in the comments. So that's amazing that she's
Yeah.
watching too.
So what she did and what we did was to kind of go, what is it that drives you? What is different about you? What have you learned over the years that really kind of influences how you behave with your clients and how you serve up your bookkeeping business? That's the important bit. Once we establish that, we can then sort of apply a filter, if you like. So what shall I talk about? What shan't I talk about? I think a lot of people get really kind of, they've got a name or something, but they don't, they struggle with social media, or they don't really know what to post about. And that's because actually, fundamentally, they haven't decided what it is underneath that kind of drives their business. So that is a personal brand. And the best thing is you've got a story, that story is told, it influences your clients, what's unique about you, all of that good stuff. Now, if you suddenly get bigger, you can start to pull back and kind of bring in your company kind of business as a result. Personal brand is all about that person. A business brand is obviously about the team behind it. Now, sometimes what happens is that person is very entrepreneurial. They develop a team, the business gets bigger and bigger, and suddenly the two are interlinked. So if you think about Richard Branson, for instance, he is somebody everybody recognizes, but his DNA runs through the whole of the business. You know that he's quite quirky, he's quite different, he's quite, he likes to be kind of slightly different than the sort of BAs of this world. So the two are interlinked, and that's really what makes him very powerful and the Virgin brand very powerful. Now, if you are not at the center of your business, you don't like, having that kind of big sort of light on you, it doesn't mean that you're going to fail, your business isn't going to work, because you've actually got a team behind you, and it's about the business, what you as a team serve up, what makes you different, what is it about your service offer that's different. Generally speaking, a business brand is kind of when you're on a slightly more established part of your journey, really. So, you've been around for a few years, you've got a team behind you, and it's not just about you. You might even want to sell your business, so you need to think about something which delivers more than just one person. It's not just about you anymore. The two can work kind of separately. So if you've got a really strong personal brand, if you think about James Ashford, he has his own personal brand, but everybody knows he's linked to Go Proposal and Sage now. So the two can work together. If you are a small business and you're, starting up with bookkeeping, and it's only just you or a couple of other people, then by all means, make it about you. Drive yourself forward so that people can get to know you, because people buy people, don't they? So what I would say about a personal brand is it's much more personal, it's much more direct, whereas a business brand is probably a bit more distant. So those are the two differences, but I think the two can work together.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you said about focusing on your personal brand, and then when you're bigger, thinking about the business, because I think we like to hide behind a logo, and Jo and I, we say build a business that's right for the future. So that might mean you need to talk about we and us before it is we and us, before when it is just actually you, so that you can position your business as something that's going to grow. Because I think one of the challenges can be you start a business, you do the bookkeeping, and then one day you need to bring support in, and you get a member of your team, or you have a subcontractor, and then you've got to introduce this new person to your client who thinks, but I thought it was only you. I signed up just to work with you, and now you're telling me it's someone else. So actually, if we can set the scene that, well, actually, this is a business and I've got goals for the business, and in the future it won't be. Talking about the business early on is important, but I know that when you've got other people involved in the business values and goals can change a bit, because you've got other personalities in there too. So
so I mean, when you've got a personal brand and you're thinking about bringing in, other people, I think your personal brand then becomes a little bit like your ethos for the business. And when you start recruiting people, you go, this is what I'm all about. This is what the business is all about. This is how I service my clients. These are my values. And you start, you're holding a mirror up and you're starting to say, if you like what you see, join me. If you don't like what you see, then maybe, there's another role out there for you. So you start to pick and choose kind of team members who come, who are kind of like-minded, so a brand isn't always about the outside and sort of kind of pulling clients in and awareness. It's also about getting those people around you who think in a similar way to you. And that's obviously what we call culture. When the culture is great, everybody's working together really well. When the culture is toxic, everybody's kind of bashing against each other, and maybe, there isn't a sort of joint vision. So you don't want that. But obviously, it's also about getting those right clients. We've all had nightmare clients. We all have clients that we think, oh, they're just a waste of time. They're not paying me much, but they're really on the phone all the time. Part of the brand is to kind of go, these are the sorts of people that we're looking for. These are sort of their attitudes and the way that they work as well. And you're trying to match like with like. So always start with your personal brand and your values, because if you are the business owner, you are going to instill those values in everything that you do and the other people around you. So I would say just don't be too obsessed by it, personal brand versus business. There is a way of beginning to integrate that so that the two kind of become synonymous. And it works. There's Jerry, who's got her own kind of personal brand, but behind that, she's Smooth Accounting. And, she had lots of people behind as the team who do her work for her, 5 days a week or whatever. So but just make sure at this early stage, if bookkeepers here at an early stage, really think about what it is that drives you, because you are the brand at the moment. That's the most important thing, I think.
Okay. And from a practical, because it's really easy for us to talk theoretically about this all week, isn't it? I want people to get to the end of the week and be like, okay, I have an action plan. I know what I need to do. And we're going to be talking about content tomorrow night. Tonight we're talking about numbers and what's actually making an impact on the business. But from your point of view, you've spoken about values a lot. And I feel like this exercise around understanding your values is a really important part before you can really decide, how do I show up? Where do I show up? What do I talk about? What do people need to know about me? How do you do that? What kind of exercise would you be doing with your clients to understand those values?
So what I do is talk to my clients about their lives, really. So, if you were my client, Zoe, and you were pitching up, I would start to say, where are you in your business journey at the moment, and what's brought you to here today? So I would want to ask that question of my client. So the bookkeepers on the call now, they should start to think about what brought them to this point in their lives. So are you able to say what brought you to where you are now? Just,
what brought me to here?
Yeah.
So from my point of view, I used to work in corporates, lots of different roles, and I wanted to have flexibility around my family. I knew I didn't want to go back to work full time. When I was pregnant with my daughter, my first, I decided to set up the business so that I could return to work part-time in my big job and do some bookkeeping on the side. I saw it as a side hustle, freelance. I underpriced all the mistakes everyone makes. I made them all, and I didn't see it for what it could be. And then it really took off. So I had to leave my job after going back. And then I met Jo.
What was your job? What was your job? Sorry to interrupt. At the corporate roles.
I was consolidating OICs over open-ended investment companies. I was working for a big bank in insurance finance and doing massive reconciliations and management reporting kind of role.
Brilliant. So I would ask you and try and get to the bottom of what attracted you to get into banking. Now, I would want you to look at your childhood. I'd want you to look at your education, and your first jobs, and kind of what you learned along the way. Because I don't actually believe that whilst we all fall into something at some point, there's actually a reason behind it. So there was something in your mind that kind of banking what it might just be that you like numbers. It might be that you wanted a serious job to impress your parents.
I think I can go back to this if you want to.
It's up to you.
It's nice for people. Maybe it's like insightful. I think this isn't stuff I haven't shared before. My mum brought us up on her own, single mum, very hard, different. It was difficult in our house financially. So I was like, I need to put I need stability. I need to be in charge of that. I was a good girl at school. I was good at math. So I became an accountant. And I suppose I've always looked for like, what's the best way for me to make sure that I'm in charge of the roof over my head and can do that. And I suppose I saw that kind of role as like, having made it. I guess that's what it is.
Brilliant. And I guess I would start to look at, in terms of the people you love to work with, your ideal client. I'm thinking that maybe you might not even know it, that you work really well with women as well, because you want to give them the sort of financial grounding that maybe you didn't see in your life, and you never want women to feel that kind of financial insecurity that you did. I don't know. I'm making it up.
Yeah. My number one value is financial security. And so that's why we do things in the 6-month success program, where we say we need to do your numbers in your business every month, because you need to know what's going on for you. So absolutely, it's through and through everything. Yeah.
So that is that is your vision. And I'm sure your values kind of come up, within that. So, a vision is quite an important thing for a business. We all want to look after our children. We all want to sort of look after our family. But your vision for your business is actually to ensure that, women or business owners never experience that financial hardship that maybe you saw your mum have. And that is incredibly powerful. If you think about your values as well, and think about, the bigger kind of brand, there's quite a different emphasis there. There's actually quite a lot you can talk about in your social media. You can talk about, women's rights. I'm making it up, by the way, women's rights, how, family stability is really important. You can start to really bring a different flavor over the top of it, with what you're doing as, in your business and the work that you do now. And I'm not saying you should air your dirty washing, but I think in many ways, if we can have an understanding what's driven us up until this point, our personal brand, our values, what we should be talking about become much easier, I think.
I think in understanding yourself and what drives you, it's Jo and I have definitely been on this journey as we've come together with we were strangers before Six Figure Bookkeeper started, and to understand what motivates each other is interesting, because we've had to know our own values and what we do through our own personal brands, so that we know how that feeds into what we do within our business. And it's really interesting. But I can see people in the comments saying, I don't want to dig back. And I feel like this is like therapy. I feel I've done enough therapy. I'm good. I can see like people saying, I don't want to look back. I don't want to think about this. And it's a big thing to do.
It is a big thing to do. I mean, it doesn't need to be upsetting or retrospective. It's just about what it is that really is a passion point for you. It doesn't have to be overly emotional. It doesn't have to, you don't have to use that in your social media. But I think it gives you an anchor point, really. So, whether your kind of values, whether you're an upbeat person or whatever it is, it should give you a lot more kind of meat on the bones, really. Otherwise, I mean, the danger is that you become a bit superficial, and that when somebody picks up the phone and because people are not really going to say, oh, I'm picking up the phone because I love your logo. Well, they might with Penny, maybe, I don't know. But, they're going to sort of talk about price. I've got a client at the moment who said, oh, I find it really difficult when somebody says to me, so what makes you different? She's in a networking group. And I think it just gives you a confidence. If you've kind of looked at, the part of the job that you love and that kind of sings and that really is kind of everything that you value, then I think you can have a better conversation with people and just say, well, you know, this is me, this is why I love bookkeeping, this is what I hope it kind of does for other business owners. It just makes it more of a personal conversation rather than I'm a bookkeeper or I'm an accountant or I'm a printer, you know, because then you sort of end up having a full stop. Whereas if you kind of go, oh, I just love helping, you know, business owners get through the rough waves or whatever that Penny would say, people kind of go, oh, that's interesting. What do you mean by that? And it's just a conversation starter at the end of the day.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. Well, you know what? We talk all the time about, you know, the way to give the best value to your clients is to really understand their businesses and understand what's driving them and support them with the numbers they need to make their decisions. And the only way to really open up to somebody is if you know them and feel like they're letting you in. So we need to be more of ourselves. That's all you're asking us to do. Be more of ourselves.
Yeah. I think just be more of yourselves and not be frightened of the other bits that you kind of bring. So, for instance, without naming names, I have a new client who was a very, very good sports person. For various reasons, it didn't work out for her. But what she's brought from that is that she brings an understanding of how mindset affects business, how physical health affects, you know, performance and all of those good things. And we're talking about from a bookkeeper and accounting perspective, how can she kind of use that and start sort of talking about bookkeeping and financial health in a slightly different way? You know, it's all about kind of bringing a bit of kind of, you want somebody to be curious about you. You want them to say, oh my God, I love what you do. I mean, everybody says, Penny, I love what you do. Now, she's obviously gone back and she understands what she's about, but she's, you know, everybody's excited about what she does and why she does it and her story. You know, she's won awards, as we've said, because of that. So it's not a doom and gloom. It just means that there's a bit of, you're just giving a bit of yourself. But without kind of knowing about your life and where you come from, it's very difficult to say, well, what am I all about then? I mean, where do you start? Although it's a bit kind of, well, I like cycling, or I like, you know, it's kind of, but why do you like doing that? I mean, just ask yourself why. That's one of the things I would say. So if you answer a question, what I'm all about, why, with the answer, why, and keep going, why, until you kind of find out what it is that sort of, that light bulb moment is really.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Philippa.
Welcome.
Lots to think about. So how can people connect with you and find out more about what you do?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm also in the Six-Figure Bookkeeper Club. I snoop around a little bit. But you can also get me on my website, insight101.co.uk. Or Philippa Haynes at insight101.co.uk too, which is my email.
Amazing. Oh, Philippa, thank you so much for this impromptu session. We've really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Thank you everyone who's joined as well. We'll be back at 2:00. We're speaking to Nicola Fallon about growing her business. She's always on social media as well. I'm sure she'll be telling us all sorts of things about what's happening in her business. So we'll see you at 2:00. Thanks, Philippa. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.